Alright, everyone. This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Alright, so we're going to be going over a couple things today. And let me go ahead and get this out to the Discord real quick so everyone knows that we've started. And that we can go ahead and get everything out. So, let's see. They got you all a four-way tie. Goat, Just Investor, Quack, and Valjean. What's going on, guys? RT and Tom next. Good job. All right. So, as some of you guys know, there's been some interesting things happening today. We actually got the confirmation of institutional ownership as of March 31st, which was all the 13 Fs that were filed. And that is actually higher than what's being reported on any of those things. Now, I don't know how Fintel reports their stuff. Based off Fintel's information, they had 25 million, which I showed you guys on the sheet the other day. As of what they were reporting on Aterian, they had 21 million, but either one of them's higher than the 19 million that was being reported. So, all right, let's see what's going on here. We can kind of go over that, and then we can also go over how Aterian just became the highest market share percent holder on Fintel in literally just part of a day. Yeah. SI data updated to FINRA today. Oh, yep, there we go. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and link it. My dog's like digging a... You know, like dogs sometimes like dig, like before they settle in to lay down. He's right now digging into my kid's beanbag chair, trying to get comfy. Yeah, let's see. All right, so we got that out there. Then I'm also supposed to do Twitter, right? That's my new routine. Is supposed to be. They make like one thing where you can get all the information. I think they have what, like TweetDeck. Is that what it's called? Hashtag or ATER DD. Let me just put down, what was it, 5/24/22. I'll say ATER just became the highest market, what do they call it? Market share percentage on Fintel. Okay, so now it's on Twitter too. All right, let's see. Let's go back up. All right, so what's up, Hyun? What's up, Spencer, Matt, Tom, Random, Chris, Mike. Yeah, my dog turns in about 10 circles before laying down. Yeah, same with him. But he has to also dig while he's doing it. What's up, Pete? Any guesses of what end of week are going to be like in tomorrow? I mean, honestly, it's going to really depend on how the overall market is. Because, I mean, you guys see, like, we're sitting here in this weird, like, just, tanking, then pushing back up. They're just messing with OPEX and, for the SPY. And I think they're also right now trying to get this back up a little bit so they can eventually take another large step down. So we'll see how high they can get it to move up before it gets just completely slammed down. But what was that on? So this is Tuesday. So that was Friday? And then they burned all the people at the end of the day. And then the last couple of days they've been trying to like push it back up, but it's basically like we had one good day and then they basically gave it away and then finished slightly down, and so they're keeping this down trend going. And can you explain how utilization is stuck at 100% and cost to borrow in SI is dropping? Sure. So I don't have Ortex anymore, so I can't really pull that up. If you guys want to screenshot Ortex and DM it to me, I can pull it up on my screen here and I can kind of help you go through it. But basically the idea is this. So cost to borrow was set by demand. So like if you guys think about this, like cost to borrow, if no one's really like looking for the shares, the cost to borrow goes down, right? So right now the shorts aren't shorting it a ton. The overall market is scaring people off. It's on low volume, so they don't have to do a lot to fight because there's not like retail just constantly battling up. Basically, most of retail has already bought in their positions, and they're just holding. They might add a couple hundred shares here and there, or maybe a couple thousand shares, but no one's massively FOMOing into the stock right now. And so what happens is they're letting the market overall, the algos, just kind of tank the stock at times, and then they'll recover, later on. And that's essentially what's happening with us. Like, basically, they're letting the algos push it down. They might help a little bit by shorting here and there. And you can probably take a look at, if we look at, let me see, I do have Fintel, so I can at least look at that portion. So let's look at short interest on Fintel. The numbers should be up by now. Yeah, so like, for example, the aggregate short volume for today was about 844,000, right? So that's on a total aggregate volume of about 2.5 million. So it's about 33% that they're still shorting at certain critical times, but they're letting the overall market push us down. Because of that, because there's not a high demand for them to lend or be borrowing shares, also because the shares are expensive now to borrow, it's causing the cost to borrow to drop. Now the SI, I'll be honest with you, can be explained a couple ways. So there are now a lot more options that got pushed back. So there are a way of creating synthetic shares through options. You also have the ability, though, because we got more shares onto the market, they may have used some of that, and some retail did probably sell during this time. So they're basically allowed to get out of some of their stuff. They're basically covering at certain points, like when the stock's going down, right? And you've got retail like basically bailing out. Shorts are basically buying in at that same time and covering some shares when retail gets shaken out. So, but it's not happening in like a massive effect. It's just like they'll cover, a couple 100,000 maybe if they shake the tree hard like today. Like they got people were nervous this morning. They thought the stock was going to go down and down. Let's go to the 1 minute real quick so you guys can kind of see. So right here, right? This shook out some people. Like it would be naive to think that it wouldn't shake out some retail here, right? So what's this? This is probably them covering a portion of it. Why? Because you shake the tree with not a whole lot. This is like algos pushing the stock down because the market's tanking, right? Maybe shorting along the way. And then what do you do down here? You start covering. And then that's basically what it chopped around the rest of the day. So, but that's how one way. Another way is, if you can hide some stuff in the options chains, make retail think that everything's all over. This is what they did last time. So I'll remind you guys, that they actually were screwed. They had FTDs mounting. They had all these problems going on back here during this run. But what happened was, because retail had some dilution happening and didn't understand, they saw the cost to borrow going down. They saw the the SI going down, and they couldn't explain it, so they all panic sold when we had these like red days, and then just bled. And so that's kind of what they're aiming for again. They're going to try to see if they can make it look like everything's fine. But here's the thing: when you have 100% utilization, it means everything's not fine. This wasn't at 100% utilization back then, historically, if I remember correctly. It was like 97%, like in this range. We're at 100% now. So we've been at 100% since this date right here, which is 77 days old now. Like we've been sitting here with 100% utilization for 77 straight days. And the only one that I know that's longer than that one is GameStop. And GameStop has an extra 30 days on us. So they're sitting at like 100 days of 100% utilization. So at some point, these things will have to give. And you can kind of already see, like on the MACD here, it's starting to flatten. And it probably would have came up at the end of last week, but it got kind of flattened out with the market dropping as much as it did on that Friday and then pushing up at the end. Our stuff didn't recover that much, but all memes are getting like absolutely nailed if you look at like the trend on all of them. You look at GameStop. GameStop's just getting hammered down. Let's look at AMC. AMC is getting just hammered down, right? All of these BBBBY getting hammered down, right? All of these meme stocks are just getting absolutely nailed down. So, like, their goal right now is like a big tree shake. And if you look, let's just take a look at this one real quick. What they do before they usually go up is they try to get them down as much as they can. So this was like chopping around. Boom, they gap down. They try to like scare everybody out. And then at some point they have to let the pressure valve off because people accumulate too many and then it pops off and then, But you'll see like this pattern developing. Before they cover, they typically have a downswing and then they'll start actually moving up before they have to cover. Here, downswing, go up. Downswing, go up. Like they typically make the price go down before they actually cover something. So that just, I know this is BBBY, but still. Oops, not ATER. There we go. Before they covered, pushing it down, covering. So. Yeah, Pete, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like if you're legitimate, if you need to sell, that's fine. Nobody's telling you what to do here. Obviously, none of this is financial advice, but I would recommend not probably investing your rent money. That's probably not a very safe way to go about life, because if you lose it and you get evicted, then you're going to be in a really bad spot. So would not invest rent money. Should be money that you're fine, having to, at times hold on to. There's been plenty of times where, I've invested things that, I got stuck in for a while. Like Tesla was one of them. I bought Tesla, early on, and for a good hot second when Tesla was very, very, Tesla was old, they had some money problems, and I remember I bought shares back, I think around like in this range, like the $80 range. It ran up, but then it got tanked down back, and was it here? Yeah. So like at one point, I'd been buying up in this swing, right? I bought some at 80, a good amount at 80, then I bought some into the hundreds, and then over here it dropped back down to 70, and I was like, oof, I'm sitting on some big losses. Like maybe, should I sell? Like, should I, because I was like, how much more is this going to go down? And then if I had sold there in the 70s, I would have missed out on it going from 70 to 1200. Pretty big swing. So, yeah, sometimes you get stuck with stuff. Sometimes it's fine. So, I typically don't want to touch things that, like, you know, I think I can't in the long term turn around. So, you know, for me, I think Aterian has a shot of actually turning around and becoming like more valuable than it's currently priced. To me, it's undervalued. So I'm fine buying shares down here, but if you really need to actually pay rent with that money, you shouldn't be messing with that kind of stuff. I'm writing covered calls on my shares for extra cash so I can buy more. Yeah, and the other option you can do, Ethan, and this is not financial advice, but the other way you can make money on options with Aterian is you can also sell puts, which is bullish. So, like, if you at the beginning of the week, if you had sold, I believe, a 250 call, you would have gotten 25 per contract. So, if you know, just throwing it out there. Yeah, many people have not registered with Fintel yet. Yeah, and it's free, though. So, I mean, you can. But I personally don't see any harm in it, because all that's going to end up happening is you basically allow Fintel to see how many shares you have at this current moment. So I don't see any harm in that. All you're doing is just giving them some extra data. They get to peek in your account and see what you got. What's up, Vlad? What's up, Wilma? What's up, Hustle? Beat down today, and what can we expect from our new Fintel info? Honestly, like, I'm pretty upbeat about it, because, you know, before it was constantly like, okay, I DRS my shares, and so, like, I can't register a good amount of my shares with Fintel because they're already DRS'd. But this is an interesting way of confirming our suspicions that retail does own a good chunk of this float. Now, I'm guessing there's probably between maybe like a couple hundred to maybe 1,000, like max, that have, you know, registered with Fintel. But it's already up to, what was the number that I just saw? If I go to owners, retail ownership, and go to see companies with top retail ownership, yeah, we're over 4% already in literally just a couple hours. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, so in actually, random, since you posted that, the 3.99, it's already at 4.02. So it keeps going up. So as people are seeing this and starting to do it, they're starting to actually register these shares. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me by that maybe tomorrow or the next day. And for anyone that's curious about what we're talking about, if you go into our Discord, somebody can provide the link now if one of the mods can do that. Or I'll just throw it in. It shouldn't be that hard. Just click a couple buttons, copy and paste. There's a pinned thing that basically said that you know, these are instructions on how to do it. It's free. It doesn't cost anybody any to do anything. And then you can find out how many shares retail owns by a third party, which is impartial. So they're not like making up numbers. They're actually checking with brokers. So bear in mind that shorting isn't free. Algos are saving them cash. They're going to take it. Yeah. Like, so that's the thing. Yeah, my cough is better today, actually. I tried not to overeat and tried, you know, a couple things for the GERD, so I feel better than I did yesterday. Yeah, so my dog makes me cover up with a quilt and uses my butt as a cushion. Yeah. So, hey, Dan. Me and a few people in this Discord found out about the retail ownership on Fintel is just a percentage of the total money registered. It doesn't tell how much we own. All right, hold on. Let me read that again. So retail ownership on Fintel is just the percentage of the total money registered on Fintel. Let's see. let's see. Retail ownership shows the most popular securities held by Fintel users that have linked their brokers' accounts. This is an actual based or a list based off ownership of records from broker accounts. The market share is the total dollar value held in the security divided by the total value of the retail ownership. Okay. So if we took the dollar value of the shares and then divided it by the total value of the ownership, doesn't that count what you own? I'm just reading what it says. This list is based off actual ownership records from broker accounts. Market share is the dollar value of the shares held in security divided by the total value of retail ownership. I don't see why that's not telling you how much you own. All right. Thanks, Anon. I don't get why people are so scared of a 5, 10, 15% drop in a volatile stock that you signed up for. Yeah, I mean, the stock's shopping around. It's going to. But, I mean, we're also in the middle of a market crash. So, like, everything's doing bad. Like, just to show you. Okay, so Aterian right now, right? From up at the top, we're down here now, right? That's like a, what, $5 swing. Let's look at Tesla again. Tesla just went from roughly like 1150 down to at one point like 600 a share. They've lost over half their value. Like, it's about the same with Aterian, right? Like, I mean, but you have to also remember, Aterian at one point down here was at 210. So, like, we ran up quickly, but then have came back down. But we're still basically where we were. We're actually higher than we were a couple weeks ago. So, yeah. Invest in your cancer treatment money. It's been a while since your moving average crossed over the 200. Yeah, it'd be nice if that happened, but we'll see. We're investors, not spectators. Have patience. Hold your conviction. Aterian will make us money. That's what Christopher says. Appreciate the advice. I'm going to go get my savings up so I could live for a year. Yeah. Just buy shares. Keep it simple. Yeah. There you go. FU's got a bag at 6. They can look all day long. Yeah, I mean, listen, it depends on where you came in on the stock, but many people in here that have been in Aterian for a while bought at like 16, 17 at some points, and now it went all the way down to 210. So they've been on this roller coaster for a while. Yeah, we're sitting at 4.02 right now. Hustle's got it up over 4%. Yeah, I got 6K to add to the stack for Fintel. I have 176 shares in the Public Holdings Corporation. I can't share that. All right, so how low does the price have to drop before shorts win? Well, Mark Taylor, like, number one, the shorts only win if the stock gets delisted. The only way the stock gets delisted is if Aterian has no way of raising any money and the company goes under. The company right now is sitting on like $44 million in cash based off their last balance sheet, and they had greatly reduced their spending. So, like, at this point right now, they still had a private placement, meaning that they didn't even have to issue an ATM. They literally had somebody who was like, I'm willing to take on these shares and this risk. So, and bought like 10% of the company. So, the shorts only win, really, if they can get the stock down to zero. they've already won. I mean, they've made a lot of money on Aterian. They made a lot of money on many of these stocks. But at the same time, if they're continuing to just keep shorting down at these levels, this is where it gets dangerous for them because retail does hold a lot of power. So it's a base percentage. Okay, so I mean, but it's still calculating roughly like a number that should be representative. It's not maybe the exact amount of shares, but it's like a good indication of how much money divided by like market value, right? Yeah. So I would imagine, yeah, as you buy, because you're linked with Fintel right now on your broker, it should increase while you buy. So like going forward, if somebody was to buy, like 10,000 shares tomorrow, I'm sure it would probably uptick 0.01 or something like that. Like, there you go. Fintel won't connect TD Ameritrade. Carl, I can tell you right now, I connected my TD Ameritrade, so you may want to check why. Unless you're Canadian and there's something going on with your TD Ameritrade, I was able to connect TD Ameritrade this afternoon and no problem. I did have a problem with Fidelity. I do have some shares in a Fidelity account, and I was not able to link that one earlier today. Maybe explain the Fintel thing and drop a link. I mean, it's inside the chat. If you go to, I don't know, are we able to link specifically that? Let's see if I can get people to copy link here. See if you can get in that. That's the instructions to it. Okay, so let me get back up and find where we are. Okay, I think I'm caught back out. So, yeah, so I dropped the link in there, Tom. Fintel does connect TD Ameritrade. I did today. Yep. There's the link to the Fintel free. So you have to sign up for that first, and that's also in the instructions inside the Discord link I sent. We were up by almost 10% pre-market today on only 30K volume. Yeah, I mean, because the pre-market doesn't count. Like, you guys have to realize this. Like, the pre-market means nothing. Like, I can manipulate a price of a stock with, like a couple $1,000 and at least make it do crazy things for a couple minutes before the algos catch up and basically put it right back where it was. So, all right. Let me describe it. The market cap is the total amount of retail money registered across all stocks. Well, that's not what the description read. The description just read, Fintel retail ownership shows the most popular securities held by Fintel users that have linked their broker accounts. This list is based on actual ownership records from the broker's accounts. Market share is the dollar value held in the security divided by the total value of retail ownership that is tracked by Fintel. That doesn't say that it's across all your stocks. That says across the total value of retail ownership that is tracked by Fintel. It's the market value. Because if not, then how do you know if something is, if I have $1 million, right, that's invested, right, and I have it in 18 different stocks, it shouldn't divide them up equally, 18. It should look at what my thing is actually, my breakdowns are. If I have 99% and then the other ones make up the 1%, that does no good for any sort of data collection. So I don't know. I mean, where are you getting that information? All right. Yeah, if they get it to delist, it's no. They don't pay taxes on it because they never technically closed their thing. That's a conclusion multiple people came up with on the Discord. Okay. I didn't look at that conversation. I was probably eating dinner, but ownership relative to the other stocks, that's the most important thing. Yep. All right. So I had no problem with the Fidelity. So when I did Fidelity, it said there was an issue with Fidelity and try back later. So maybe I need to do that later. If somebody's putting their own money in private placement, they must not be dumb to just throw it in. Yeah. I mean, like, a group basically was like, and like I said yesterday, like, who knows their intentions? Because there are people out there, like these funds, that will sometimes play both sides of it. They'll try to go short, but if they can't get the thing to go down, eventually they just go long because there's more money to be made on the long side. So if GME had $1,000 registered, AMC 500, then the percentage would be 25 and has no relation to the actual float. Are you talking about cost basis? Like, I think we should clarify with them. Why don't we contact Fintel and ask them how it works? Because I don't think we should speculate. Like, the way I've always operated is, if I don't know how something works, I'm going to go ahead and talk to somebody until I do. Like, I didn't understand how Aterian was running that way, so I called up Fintel and I got on the phone with them. And you know what a pain in the ass it is to get the SEC or Fintel to actually call you back? It's a huge pain in the ass. But I'm a huge pain in the ass in general. I mean, if you guys haven't noticed, I don't just roll over. So for me, I sat there and I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out how this works. So I got a nice lady on the phone with Fintel, and I eventually got to talk to somebody at the SEC as well. Like, we should contact somebody at Fintel, and let's go ahead and get a clarification on how this actually works, because there's no point in speculating. Like, we can actually go and let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Tell me how this works. And if that's how they're calculating things, well, that's not a great way of calculating ownership. And you guys should probably change your product, because that's not how it should work. So, yeah, and I am a huge pain in the ass. Donkey, right? From one pain to another. Thanks, Anon. We appreciate it. That's why I watch these videos. Laugh out loud. 100. Anon's a Karen. Yeah, I mean, like, Anon, what's your favorite food? I have a couple that, I mean, like, I do love pizza. Like, a good pizza is always solid, especially like brick oven. Like, I sometimes grill my pizzas on my like a knockoff egg. That's pretty good. Get some good smoke in there. Get some good flavor. I obviously like all sorts of food, but I really do. I love Indian. Indian food's good. I like sushi. Good sushi is always solid. I eat everything. I'm not like a snob with that thing. And look at the money flow in the OBV when the price dipped. All right, so let's see. We probably have to go to a different time frame. So let's try like a 30-minute. All right. So my opinion would be this. I think this may have been some sort of institution or a large retail sale right here. And I think this was actually smart money coming in, stepping in. Let's see. I mean, you can see, like, it did, like, move the money flow down temporarily, and then it moved right back up and the buying resumed. The OBV dropped, very hard. But at the same time, you see accumulation happening. Like, right? So even though the price is dropping, somebody stepped in and was actually buying. So interesting. I was looking at that earlier, and I was thinking to myself, this almost looks like somebody was like bleeding off a position and somebody else entered in that same position. And I don't know if this is retail. I don't know if this was smart money, but I kind of felt like it was smart money because of how perfect it kind of fell, right? So they kind of bled this out, right? They hit the RSI. It was oversold. And then instantaneously, you look at this like perfect V of just like boom, boom, let's go. So. Well, I don't have a brick oven, Greg. So, yeah, I have to grill my pizza to get that smoke flavor. But, yeah. Ram's got a bread machine, great for making pizza dough. Yeah, I mean, to me, and you look at the volume. That on this right here and then this push up, somebody was doing it. And then the rest of the stuff's just like small amounts of buying. But, like, you can see these like right here. It looks to me like that's kind of like somebody was exiting and somebody entered. And whether or not that was retail, let's take a look. Kind of zoomed out again, huh? It's a little easier, I think, to see if we... All right, this is it right here, right? This is on a 30-minute time frame. So you can see right there, boom, it dips down and then right back up. But I mean, it got the whole thing moving. Like somebody was definitely exiting today and somebody else stepped right in from this bottom right here and stepped back in, and now it's just been consolidating. But if you look, like, I would say right about here, right? That's a perfect, you see it, if I drew a line across this, right? Right about here. If I add drawing, where's maybe price level? I would say it's right about here, right? You see this perfect, was it 293, right? And that's a support. 292 is the support, right? So boom, hits there, moves back up. They tried to drill it down today, and somebody stepped back in to bring it right back in. So, I mean, whoever bought down here in these dips, congratulations. So, all right, let's see. AMC and Aterian moved up similar today. All right, so if we were to look at AMC, did they go down in the beginning? They had something a little bit separate. They basically tanked in the beginning and then just kind of chopped around. Let me just see on the 1 minute. Like their sell-off was hard and fast right in the beginning, and then they kind of consolidated, hit the low of the day, and then popped back up. Let's do Aterian. As for us, though, we kind of like went down, hit our low, but then we kind of went up, and then we finished higher than they did. They lost, what was it? Let's see, they were down 10% today. Yeah, so that's why they took that huge step down. Probably we're chopping around like 6, 7, 8%. Probably 8. I would roughly say about 8% roughly around here. And then they took that second step down to probably about 12%. It looks like, and then popped back up over to like maybe the 10 that they finished at. But yeah, at one point they were down pretty big. So sushi pizza, ew. Yeah, well, yeah, don't put sushi on your pizza. Those are two separate things. I will say though that pizza and Indian go well together, and you will think that that's a crazy combination. But there's a restaurant near me that's owned by these Nepali or the Nepalese people. They're from Nepal, and they brought over Indian food that they cook along with some of their own native dishes. And they also make pizza, and they make this bread naan, like all the like pizza is made on this like naan / like it's like a hybrid. It's like really good though, and it was super like when I first tried it, I was like, oh my god, this pizza is really good. and then their sauce is amazing. And then like when you eat the Indian food with it, like I used to just take pizza crust and dip it into my, because it's basically like not a piece of naan. So like, it's like an extra naan that you get with it. So I don't know. I'm telling you right now, it sounds crazy, but it's really good. All right, so they're saying that Fintel ownership is going to be 100%, 4% Intel reports, if I understand this. All the ownership that Fintel can see, 4% of it's ATER. The 4%. They're saying that if Fintel percent ownership total is going to be 100%. So if the 4% that Fintel reports, if I understand it correctly, is all the ownership that Fintel can see, 4% of it is Aterian. All right. I don't know if I'm just tired, but I don't really understand. You're saying that Fintel ownership is going to be 100%. 4% that the Fintel reports is all the ownership that Fintel can see. Like 4% of your portfolio is that what you're trying to say? I don't know. We'll contact Fintel tomorrow. Like somebody in the Discord will contact Fintel tomorrow and try to get them to figure out what's going on, because not only that, but Fintel is also reporting 19 million, and we just confirmed with Aterian that they're sitting at 21 million as of their records. So that shouldn't be. It could be still sushi if cooked. It wouldn't just be sashimi. Yeah, so like sushi just means with rice, if I remember correctly. Somebody told me that. And so that means that like sushi can be technically like egg, with rice. It could be crab with rice. It could be fish with rice. Sashimi, on the other hand, is the raw fish. So what do I know of Citadel and ATER? Yeah, they hold some options. I think they have some shares, and they probably have some puts. If I remember correctly, based off like the last ownership, I think they were short. Like they were net short basically on Aterian. So I'm just making sure I understand this. So if I understand all the ownership that Fintel can see. So if you have, for example, only 4% of your portfolio as Aterian, it's only reporting 4%. It's not reporting your actual shares. Is that what you're trying to say? I think they're saying that 4% of all stocks that have been linked to Fintel are Aterian shares. It does not include stocks that have not been linked. Well, yeah, I mean, how do you collect data if nobody signed up for it? So yeah, of course, the data that's not included. But you're saying that they're basically going off of their free float? Is that what you're trying to say? They're saying all that shared their information with Fintel is 4% of all the stocks shared at the moment. Okay. And just, yeah. Last night you mentioned Aterian might be dangerous for them to keep it in the twos with buying pressure. Yeah, I mean, like, they're assuming that retail's going to give up. So, like, and that's not like a horrible assumption. Like, when the market's crashing and everything's looking horrible, who's buying a small cap company who knows what the future's holding for them, right? But at the same time, it's super interesting because you saw what happens every time they try pushing the stock down. And, you know, it just seems like every time they push the stock down, you know, they pushed it down here into the twos, right? What did we hit? A low of 252, and it came right back up. Now we're trying to push back down again, right? And I think I showed you, this is the support line. I'm not sure if we bring it across. There's a couple times where it was hard to break through, but once it kind of went down here, it just instantaneously, because it bounced off of, what was this? 260, and then came back up and finished the day around basically 292. And then it gapped down that morning and hit a low of 252, and then instantaneously jumped back up. So, like, I'm just showing you guys that, like, this 292 seems to be a pretty important level in the stock. And every time it dips down below for a long period of time, it typically will then move the other way at some point. I mean, that's just what I've been seeing. So, like, let's go to the daily. Like, look, this is when all hope was lost, right? It was doom and gloom right around this time frame. We hit the 210 here, right? That was the most recent 52-week low. Everybody was like, oh, my God, you know, I can't believe the stock's been down here. And then within, like, 2 weeks, it ran. So every time it dips down, it seems like under 3, it pops back up at some point. You know, dipped under, pop back up. It's going to try to dip under, it'll pop back up. At least up like book value-ish. So Fintel retail data is created from a large panel of users that share their holdings transactions by Fintel by linking their broker accounts. This data is tracked. We do not share this. Yeah, that's the same thing I read before. The 4% is not 4% of the free float. It's 4% of the entire stock is what you're saying? Is that what you're trying to convey? It's 4% of the shares outstanding? RT? Or 4% of all shares registered with Fintel? Oh, so you guys are trying to say that it's not actually tallying the actual ownership. It's just, it's 4% of all, it's the highest percentage right now of anything that's registered with. Well, wait, why is it 4% then? 4% of all stocks across Fintel? All right. Fintel simply takes into a total number of shares outstanding, all shares, all floats, and then reported by retail. So it's shares outstanding. Is that what you guys are trying to say? You guys are all saying different things, so this is like super confusing. Stop eating crayons. 4% is what was shared, like we did today, was ATER. People shared 4% of what they shared, nothing else. 4% of 65 million is 2.6 million. Yeah, we just need to call Fintel. I need, at this point, us arguing about who's right, and like none of us know. Like, we're basically taking an interpretation of what we're reading, and all of us think different things. So, you know, RT thinks it's 4% of all shares outstanding. Other people think it's 4% of all things that are registered with Fintel. You know, like, I think what's clear is we don't know, and so we should find out the answer. That's what I say. So, I know everyone's excited to talk about this, but either way, we're now the number one security that's ranked with Fintel. Yeah, if let's find out. Let's just actually talk to Fintel. That's the, I mean, obviously the chat's going nuts just talking about like what they think it means, but like there's a really easy solution. Instead of arguing about it, let's just go to the horse's mouth and ask them how this works. Yeah, DM me if you want to talk about it on the Discord. That's fine. But, here's what I know. So this is what was confirmed with Aterian investor relations, right? And so let's go ahead and do some of this now. And what is Ortex recording now? Can somebody give me some Ortex numbers if you have access to it, and DM it to me so I can pull it up real quick? All right, so people are still talking about it in the Discord as well. The arguments are continuing all over the place, but that's fine. And we're trying to figure out. So what I want to do right now is let's take a look at. Did anyone get the Ortex real quick? Let's see. Let's see. Anyone got Ortex numbers? Let's see if anyone posted Ortex numbers recently. Oh, here we go. 39% is what they have, right? All right, so let's take a look at their stuff. Thank you, Vlad K. Appreciate it. All right. So, this is what Ortex has right now, according to the Vlad. Is this from today, I'm guessing? Okay. Yeah, love these random cost to borrow. Less than 1%. Yeah, because this came out, right, this morning, I think, right? Because it released yesterday, came out this morning, I think, right? So, if we compare this number, now Ortex is claiming it's this. Now, they'll probably adjust it down to probably like maybe high 10s, maybe low 11s when they see this tomorrow. But we'll find out. But I just want to show you that I'm pretty close, I think. Because if I did this all correctly, they're reporting right now as of the settlement day was May 13th. Now, granted, it's now the 24th. So remember, we're always playing catch-up with this data. So it's constantly a guessing game because how many shares did they short since mid-May, basically. But you see right here, they've got, oops. They got this right here at 34.63%, right? What's my number at? 35.31. So that's probably pretty close. So I think that's right now what we got to go off of. I do still want to hear back from Fintel because when we calculated the numbers off their 13Fs, we got 25 million. But at this point right now, as of March 31st, which actually was a while ago, so maybe, maybe there's a, it's possible Fintel actually may have better information because we're going off what Aterian gave us, but all that was from March 31st. So, I guess you guys somehow came up with some sort of we are the champions. Let's see. I'm so confused. All right, we're number one. We're number two. We're number one. Let's see. At a certain point, it will prove synthetics nakeds just beginning. 2 million plus is amazing. If 4% of all stocks across Fintel, given this, that would be a much larger portion of the float. What's the difference between the current SI free float and the short percentage free float? All right, let me pull up that again. Now, did I close it? Shoot, did I close it? No, here it is. Okay. So let's zoom out. All right, so you wanted to know what's the difference between the current SI right here and the short percentage of free float. Where is that? Let's see. This is estimated interest percent. This is free float on loan days to cover, utilization. Where are you seeing that second column? Or sorry, you said, where's the user? In the columns below. Are you talking about this right here? This right here? This is exchange reported data, if that's what you're talking about. So this is all coming directly from FINRA. FINRA goes through and actually reports twice a month. They give you a screenshot, basically, or a snapshot of what the short interest looks like in that. So anything you see down here is actually FINRA reported. Anything you see right here is basically Ortex guessing. Okay, so yeah, that's if that's what you're asking was down here. This is all stuff that is actually regulated, like FINRA is doing, like, you know. FINRA actually takes this snapshot twice a month. So that's why if you notice on the dates, it's always like the middle of the month and the end of the month. Middle of the month, end of the month. Because this is how they do it. And then they release it, you know, later on. Yeah, so this is more accurate. Because this is actually like they by regulation have to report this twice a month. So this is probably the most accurate thing is whenever you see these. Like for us here, short interest had gone all the way up to 13 million. They probably covered some when they got some extra shares on the market. So yeah, and like it can go back up again. Like it just all depends. Like you see here, it was about the same. Here it went up, went down. It might go down another one, then go back up. It's all, you know, there for you to see. But these are the snapshots basically on what they look like. So this one is typically more accurate, and they adjust their They should adjust their numbers based off this, or sorry, off of this right here. So they take this number, and then they'll adjust this probably tomorrow morning. And so you may see this drop to like 30. I don't know, like 35%. Is that what we had on ours? Roughly, like, yeah, 35.31. So they may adjust it down to like 36 or 37 tomorrow. But that's all that is. So nobody needs to get that freaked out. Like, number one, Ortex, I don't think, is even using the correct float size. So, like, there's already a problem right there. So. All right, let's see. All right, Let's see. Good stuff. No, Peterson made a funny comment in the Discord. Everyone's talking about, all the crazy, what does this mean for the Fintel numbers? And nobody knows what it means. It's provocative. It gets the people going. Provocative. He put prerogative, but it should have been provocative. But still funny. All right. All right, let's catch up here. Yeah, so if you want to know, typically the exchange reported data is more accurate than FINRA's. Or sorry, not FINRA's, but Ortex's numbers. All right, so the last run up to 7 seems like shorts managed to stop it there. Do you think that the next run could be expected lower? I think that this is going to be very, very interesting because I think it could go higher. And the reason why I think that is because I think that at this point right now, pretty much all the paper hands are out. If you have been holding this stock for now a couple weeks and you've kind of at least bought into the fact that, like, okay, I may have bought it like 5 or 6 or had bought shares at like, 6. Most people are not going to sell right now for like a, whatever they bought at, but like between a 50 to 70% loss. Most people aren't going to do that, especially with how volatile this market is right now. Like at any point, this thing can run, and people know that. There was no news right here when the stock launched on the 4th. Like I can go back like one market day. It was down here in the 2s with no volume. Look at the volume. No volume at all. Then all of a sudden, 150 million in volume. Like, the same thing can happen again. But at this point right now, it's going to give everyone a chance, if they haven't already, to start averaging down every time it dips. And honestly, anytime it dips below 3, I'm buying. Like, I set a buy at 292 specifically. And then I set another buy at 267, and I also did one at, I think that was it today. And I got a good chunk of shares. Yeah. Was it 267? No, it wasn't 267. It was 287? Is that right? So this is pre-market this morning, right? Am I at the right spot? Okay. And then hit a 287 is what I did. So at 292, 287, it dropped further than I thought. And then I set another one for what was the other one? I think it was 267. That's where I put my next one, but it never made it down there. So the ones up here and here got filled, and then it moved back up, and it never got a chance to fill my other ones that were down here at 267. So if we do this again, if it drops tomorrow, I'll probably set the same things up. I'll set some at 292. I'll set more at 287, and then also 267. So. So, yeah, if you can like the video, that'd be great, guys. I don't ask very often, but you guys remind me sometimes to ask for the likes. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, I guess. So you can, but I'm here pretty much every night. We go over the stock, and then, we talk about anything else that people want to talk about. But the Fintel data is actually better regarding retail ownership than I anticipated. Let's say that everyone that linked their accounts in Fintel has $100 in stocks. $4 of these stocks are in Aterian. Given that there are high-priced stocks included in the list, that's actually really good news. Yeah, I mean, this stock is something that's not for the faint of heart, and it's a hard. It's, people joked when this was going up, it was an easy hold, but when you've gone from, some people I know bought in, here, some people I actually know some people that had bought in this run. They've been around the stock that long, and they're still holding. So like, this stock has been a roller coaster. I mean, like up, down, like it, And I'm hoping we get a nice big up. So the arguments are too good. $1.50 swings is crazy. Yeah. Subscribe and hit the bell, my guy. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. If we don't get to $50, I'll eat my own crap. Please don't do that. I was gonna say, you can do funny bets if you want inside the Discord, but please don't get yourself sick or hurt doing any of these. I did think those were pretty funny though, on Wall Street bets back in the day. I'm just pouring myself a little. The one thing I will say about this community, especially with Aterian, is it's drawn in some very, very smart people. Because I think what attracted me was, it's a small cap stock. It's obviously manipulated, and once I saw them go under like current asset values, that's when I was like, and the more and more I started reading up on death spiral financing, and the more I've read about what they do to these small caps. Like, I can post you guys a video that still blows my mind to this day. Like, this guy went out and purchased a really like a penny stock, like an OTC stock that basically was essentially delisted, and he bought up 103% of the entire, maybe it was 102, but it was like 102 or 103% of the entire shares outstanding, right? So he bought out every single share of the stock. It was only $5,000, and this is back in like the probably like early 2000s. But he bought the entire shares outstanding. So there are no shares, right? He owns every single share. And within like a day or two, the stock had plummeted in price, and 50 million shares have been traded on a stock that only had like a couple 100,000 shares or something like that. It was something crazy. So it made me think of Aterian and like that situation where, they were trying to weasel their way out. So they basically just added shares that weren't there just to drop the price of the stock and try to get, because they probably were like, okay, we're just getting short squeezed. Let's go ahead. Like, not knowing that someone had bought up the entire float. Like, not just the float, but the entire shares outstanding. Like, he bought up everything and had all the evidence right there for the SEC, and contacting the SEC. It was like, how could this happen? And they got, brought it all the way to Capitol Hill, and they heard arguments about it. And guess what? They didn't do a damn thing about it. What would be some indications that the tide's turning on this stock? I mean, obviously we want to see the price move back up, but we don't really control the price. So what I'm looking for is I want to see the volume start creeping back up at some point. I want to see social sentiment, because what's going to end up happening is at some point somebody's going to write something very smart that's very logical, and it may not be me. It maybe somebody else, but it's going to tell retail that, listen, you may have been watching the stock get talked about for a long time. Maybe there's something more here, and then if they explain it out in a way that's very rational and makes sense, and say, listen, this is a stock that's worth taking a chance on, going long, in this case, that person that rates that DD might actually kind of break out the possible scenarios of what's happening here. It'll get volume again, and when it gets volume, this thing flies. We've already seen it. we just haven't had volume since back here. Like, we had a good stretch of volume in this run, and then since then we've had no volume. So I'll be doing the Captain Morgan stance on his back just for fun. Yeah, well, at some point. Yeah, I mean, in this market right now, everyone's losing money. That's just something I need to remind people. The market right now, it doesn't matter what you're in, whether in SPY's getting the crap kicked out of them. Like, granted, it didn't move that much today, but it's going to. IWM, same exact thing. Like, there's a reason why these charts look so very similar. Like SPY, IWM, like very similar. IWM is just taking a little bit more of a beating than the SPY. But, you start going through a lot of these indexes. Like, look at that. IWM, XRT. Can you even tell the difference? Honestly, when I'm doing it fast, you can barely tell the difference on those two charts. No, so you might hear PR from them if they actually have something to say. That's typically how this works. Like Aterian, if you go back and look at their like history, they'll announce like events that happen that are important. If they have any like upcoming like social events or like business events, they'll mention those. And excuse me. And so if they have something to say, then yeah, they'll say it. All right. Hyun says, Anon, this might be a stupid question, but we keep hearing there are no shares left, but how can we keep buying more shares? Okay, so our system here, and it's broken. We have what's called the T plus system, and that means that your brokers, because we're not dealing with any sort of blockchain, we're basically allowing these market makers and these brokerages, they have free reign to basically do whatever they feel like most of the time. So say for example, you bought a stock right here, right? And they were like, I think this market's going to tank. And they chose not to buy your shares here, right? And so you then, let's give you the example, right? All right, say you're sitting here and you're like, YOLO, I'm going to buy in on this day and start buying in this day, and you bought on this day. And then about here, you freaked out and you were like, oh my God, it's lower than it was. Like, I bought here, here, and here. Now I'm down 25% to 30%. I'm going to sell for a loss. So you sell your shares. Well, if you paid, roughly, let's say, $70 or $80 a share, right? That was your average. And you sold at, what was this? What did I say, 80? Yeah, let's say maybe you freaked out this day and you sold at 72, right? So that's an $8 difference per share. So if you bought your shares up here, but they chose not to cover them until over here, maybe they ate some FDDs, right? Because they thought the stock was going to go down. Your brokers, do you think that they go, well, he paid us 80 for these, we should give him back the difference because when we closed our account, we bought them at 73. Do you think they say that? No, they take your money and they hope you actually fail because you selling for a loss made them money. Because they make money on their bid-ask spread. They also make money when you mess up and they are able to purchase your shares lower than what the price was when you bought them. Like, they pocket the difference. So, but yeah, like, so they allowed you. So say for example, they were having trouble finding liquidity in this area, right? Well, if they decided after 3 days, we're not going to actually go ahead and buy his shares. So this whole time, the market's been bleeding and stuff like that. They don't want to add any buying pressure. So what they do is just route it through a dark pool and eventually buy your shares like through a dark pool or off exchange. Or if they do choose to do it on the lit exchange, they might eat FTDs 1-2 days and then buy it down here on like the third or fourth day after the FTDs started. So all right, so we went down 9% today to almost 5%. Yeah, we ran up at the end. Random says Aterian executives are busy running a company, not a social media platform. Maybe Zuckerberg and Musk have the time, but Yanov doesn't. He will politely answer your questions the best he can. That's right. I think some people have written him on LinkedIn. And he actually did respond back to them, from what I understand. I've never actually talked to Yanov. I've always talked to the investor relations, but I've heard him on calls. So that's the only, Oh, I see. So they're trying to maximize their own profit. Yeah, they don't care. Like, they honestly do not care about you. Like, you're just a bag of money to them. And every time they mess with you or they choose not to, because you would expect your broker to buy your shares within the allotted amount of time. You don't expect them to actually sit there and go, now's not a great time for us to buy, because it would actually help them make more money. We're going to go ahead and hold this off, and then they will actually, when you panic sell, they'll buy in and then make their money and then close out the FTD, because it's probably cheap enough to just part of doing business. It's the cost of doing business at that point. Not ATER, Anon. I was speaking about Mavis. What's going on? All right, he's talking about he likes Mavis. All right, you guys have any more questions or? But yeah, they are allowed to kick the can down the road, and your brokers are not actually sitting there. So, yeah, Microvision is Mavis. How do the 250 calls look? I mean, I sold some 250 calls on Monday, and I made a decent chunk on them. Oops, not green water. ATER. There we go. Yeah, so yeah, Microvision's been in for a long time. They've been pretty beat up. I mean, let's just... Yep, they did this. It looks like Wyckoff, and then it's just been down here. And they'll be accumulating probably in this range for a while, and then you might have another run-up at some point. But man, that keeps popping up, whatever green water is. So here's the thing, right? So when your broker allows you to route through IEX, it should hit the lit exchange. But when they go to deliver you your shares, they can still give you an IOU. That's, at least from what I understand, like there's something that has to do with the dark pools. when they actually have to deliver those shares to you, I think they're still able to pull the. I need to learn a little bit more about that process because that's where like a lot of the sausage is made, and there's a lot of stuff that it's not common knowledge. So I'm gonna try to dive into that a little bit more. I do want to actually I want to talk more with FINRA. I do have a point of contact there now, and I'm gonna call them up and I'm gonna ask them some pretty interesting questions, I think. And one of them is going to be about the settlement system, and they may actually have to point me to the DTCC, who's like, it's hard to get them on the phone. Like she like walk you through stuff, but I may have to do it because I need to know about that stuff. Z says, "What's up, Anon? I bought more today. Will contribute or continue to accumulate my position." Yeah, good job. And if you want, check out the Discord or this link here, if this is correct still. And that should bring you into the discussion to how to link your account to Fintel so it shows ownership. I've been routing through NASDAQ and XNMS. Yeah. About last summer, I've been writing it down. Hey, good night, guys. I was going to say, getting late for a lot of us. It's coming up on 11 for me. So, but yeah, if you check out that link, we should have, good amount of information there on how to actually do the process. But I think that's going to be interesting going forward because that number just keeps growing every time I check it every once in a while. So don't refresh it every 2 minutes, though. Wash pot never boils. Just do it every couple hours like I'm doing. Then you get surprised. You got this. You guys got this. All right, so we'll do our normal thing. We'll link the Discord. If you're not part of it, please join us. It's fun. It's free. Yeah, I'll be that FINRA Karen. Don't you worry. I'm going to get on the phone with them tomorrow and find out what's going on. Give us an explanation. Night, guys. Good night. And then, there's Discord, and then there's a Patreon that we run just for the meantime. Nobody's obviously required to contribute. It's all basically just me trying to prove my wife that my silly stock stuff is, could be another career at some point. Obviously, I've got a full-time job, and I don't make money day trading. I typically just invest. So, there we go. We got some bots in here now. We stayed up late enough where we got bots. Is it because it hit 11 o'clock? Is that what happened? No, it's not even 11 yet. How do we remove those? Just to keep it clean for if there's any younger audience. Oh, you guys already deleted it. Good job, mods. But yeah, if you have any interest in the Patreon, here it is. Porn bots or bullish? There you go. All right. Good night, guys. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's 4 a.m. there. Rest in peace tomorrow.